Welcome everyone to MailFuzz TV. I am Peter and today I'm going to be talking about The Boys Season 5 Episode 3. It's called Every One of You Sons of Bitches. So spoilers for the episode as always. And I mean, let's just get the headline out of the way. I always love a good random weird reference to Gary Busey in any context, and Soldier Boy saying that he's seen a lot of weird stuff and he's had a threesome with Gary Busey was hilarious. As was the oddly cute response to maybe we should cut back on the porn. Kimiko just smiling and shaking her head. And it's not the first time she's referenced it in the episode, which is why Huey even makes that comment. But that was oddly adorable. She's enjoying it. Let her have it, I say. But that out of the way, right? A couple of funny bits out of the way. This episode was kind of another mixed bag for me. I kind of feel like during season 4, I said that it, especially towards the end, I said that it felt like season 4 wasn't as tight as the first 3 seasons because it felt like it was setting up stuff for season 5 rather than being its own full chapter in a way. And the funny thing is about the first 3 episodes of this season, I feel like they're still kind of suffering from the same problem. And the problem might then be that whatever story they had left once they'd done the first 3 seasons maybe wasn't actually 2 full seasons worth, and we're kind of finding some suffering in season 4 and some early season 5. Again, the early reviews seem to indicate the back half of the season is very, very good, and I have no reason to doubt that. But I do wonder if the first half of the season, feeling this way, where it just kind of has felt like MacGuffin after MacGuffin, and they're very similar MacGuffins as well. It's kind of like, we have to get the virus, we have to use the virus. The virus, oh, it doesn't work on Soldier Boy because he has V1, so now we have to go find V1 before Homelander can get the V1, which is the original V. It just kind of feels like very similar MacGuffins in a row, where nothing really has changed or is that interesting about the search for the new thing. It's, characters go to location. In this case, they run into Edgar and whatnot. And they're doing things that are very typical of final seasons of a show, like Huey being confronted with Translucent's son, and he killed Translucent all the way back in season 1. This idea of coming full circle. Same with Madeline showing up in Homelander's vision. We're referencing back to a season 1 thing. These things make sense. These are typical, we're on our final season, we want to harken back to the start of the show stuff. And they did it with A-Train as well, of course, right before his death in episode 1. So that's all fine in theory. It's just that the actual plot, and I guess more importantly, the momentum of the plot just feels very lackluster right now. And I think episodes 2 and 3 have really felt it. 1 was a bit better because it was at least focused on getting them out of the camp. 2 and 3 kind of feels like we're just kind of doing more of the quests to get MacGuffin thing that a lot of season 4 was. Because there was a lot of, go to the farm in season 4, we have to go get this from the house in season 4. And they weren't all bad episodes by any stretch. It's just kind of felt like we're always just chasing a MacGuffin for the last little while. And I think this is, I really felt it again this episode. And I think it's because it's 2 in a row. It's like, oh, I'm really feeling it now. And it's not like there's not some good things. I mentioned a couple of funny bits up front. There's 1 or 2 good character moments that are interesting, like Soldier Boy reacting to Stormfront being brought up. Obviously, they have to specify what he knew her as, because he didn't know that name. But once they say Liberty, he reacts to that, and it makes me wonder if both father and son have done the fandango with her, if you will. But it didn't seem very pleased to hear that name, at the very least. So, that's interesting, potentially, for the future. I do think there's some dramatic fallout to what happens with Ryan this episode. It's kind of dark. It's dark that he ultimately goes to try and kill Homelander, knowing what Homelander did to his mother, and Homelander kind of playing along and just dodging for a while, but eventually getting mad and punching him, which I honestly thought he was going to kill him. And I almost wonder if it would have been a ballsier move to have Homelander kill him. Perhaps it would be too dark, perhaps after everything Becca did to try and protect him. And it's why it kind of sucks that Butcher's asking him to sacrifice himself. That's what his plot is in the middle of the episode. He's trying to convince him to deliver this virus to Homelander, even though it would also, do himself in. And he talks about sacrifice, talks about he'll be there to go with them and all that. And it's like this big last hurrah, and it'll all be the rest of it. I did appreciate the Butcher at least admitted that his mum wouldn't want that. That was at least like a moment of honesty. In all the depravity surrounding it, it was at least like a moment of like, I'm not going to lie to you, all right? Like, your mum wouldn't want this. I know she wouldn't, but this is the choice. This is the thing that you should do. Or this is what Butcher thinks he should do. Ryan tries to just fight Homelander though, and we get a lot of laser beams from eyes, we get a lot of things getting cut up, but ultimately it's Homelander beating the crap out of him. Very visceral, it feels very violent, and even though we see Ryan start this episode by murdering people in Russia, there's like a SWAT team coming after him and he takes them all out, which is a pretty big deal, I guess, because like, yeah, he pushed like one character, you know, against the wall, you know, Mallory, but like that's a little bit different to know what he's just taking out people with his laser blasts like left and right. That's a little bit more intentional, and he's a bit more used to it now. But he tries to this fight, and he's left there kind of just in pain. And when Butcher finds him, there's maybe a little guilt in Butcher's face that, hey, I let this happen to Becca's son, and that can be a part of the heart here. I think my frustration with this plot in particular is just all the steps it took to get there weren't necessarily that satisfying. I don't think I really found it satisfying that Ryan came to see Zoe, as much as it's maybe kind of cute that they're kind of friends. It didn't really fill me with joy to have yet another scene of Billy try to convince someone to do something, because he's been doing that since the start of the show. And I think, weirdly, this like darker turn he took at the end of season 4, where it felt like he gave in to this dark side, and he's not really the Butcher we knew, even though the Butcher we knew wasn't this like super nice guy. Obviously he had his dark side. Obviously he would use people, he would be playing them for his own ends and all sorts. Like, he would do lots of things that made him a bastard, but this like giving in completely to the dark side has made it hard for me to kind of like care about him like in these scenes where he's trying to convince people. Maybe because there was at least some more genuine elements to it, and the way he would try and convince them, the things he would bring up. It feels so just kind of unhuman right now that it's hard to really get invested when he's trying to convince people into something. Because at least before, when he's trying to convince Huey of something and then he drops what Homelander did, you know, this is back in season 1, it's like, oh, there's like a real humanity coming through and you understand his motivation. But he's so far gone now in that I have to kill him no matter what, regardless if it means killing millions of innocent people, that I think it's less engaging as a result, because he's almost become more two-dimensional in a weird way, at least for now. Maybe again that'll open up a little bit, something will get through to him. Maybe seeing Ryan like this is the start of him coming to some realization, but it's tough to tell. Elsewhere in the episode, we have Frenchie and Kimiko. They let Zoe and her dad go when Zoe finds the dad. Obviously he's pissed at Butcher once he finds out what happened to Newman, but yeah, I mean that plays out kind of like you would expect. I still think Frenchie and Kimiko are pretty much definitely dead, just based on how happy they're being, pretty much. Huey and Annie, you know, I wasn't necessarily like having a problem with their plot last episode yet. I think this one though, and maybe it's because I'm watching this one on its own, so I'm giving it a bit more focus, and I'm, you know, it's not tied to the first one. I did kind of feel a little bit like this plot of her struggling with Huey being in danger, and like she was better off as like a militant leader when she was on her own, didn't have someone to care about, so she flies off kind of after Huey almost got hurt, right? And to be fair, I do think in the moment itself, where he almost gets hurt, where it almost looks like he got killed, right? It looks like he got splatted, and then it turns out it was actually Translucent's son who got splatted, and you could kind of see the get out like jail free card there. Like, I sort of thought, oh, that actually looked like he got splatted, but I don't believe it's happened in episode 3. Maybe in the final episode, but not this episode. And then very quickly you realize, oh, it's because of this other character in the room. There's another person it could be that's died here. So I think that moment looks good visually, but the actual like the resulting kind of conflict with Starlight flying away just left me feeling a little bit cold. It just kind of felt like a little bit like drama for drama's sake, and maybe that's just down to this idea of like, we have so many characters, we're trying to establish these new dramatic places they're in for the season, and perhaps this just feels a little bit undercooked. And you know, like Annie and Huey have had, I think, good plots in the past. I actually really liked their stuff in season 3 that kind of dealt with him trying to deal with his insecurities about her being more powerful. I thought that was actually a really good story. I think here it just kind of feels like we're almost, you know, I don't want to say regurgitating old material or going over old ground again. It just, I don't know, nothing felt particularly fresh about it. It just kind of felt a little bit like, oh, we're doing this so that we're separated for next episode, and maybe it'll be a big deal when she comes back, or he'll get in trouble again and she won't be there to help him, and it'll put him in more danger, or whatever it is. But all I can really say, though, is my reaction to it wasn't, oh, I'm intrigued by this, or I think it's really sad that she's made this choice. I was more like, that's what they're doing with them. Like, that's what they've written to the script. When my reaction is more thinking about the writing making a choice than being invested in the choices the characters are making, it means that I'm not, like, into what's happening. It means I'm thinking about it in a macro or a meta level, and that's not something you want to be thinking about when you're thinking about character choices. You want to be caring about what they're doing. And I think that moment stuck out to me as being one where I'm like, oh, we're doing this. Really? I don't know if I want to be doing this, but fine. It's the sort of thing where we're so close to the end of the show now that you expect that things can ramp up in unexpected ways. And I don't think, other than a couple of callbacks to season 1, it doesn't really feel like anything like special really is going on as of yet. It doesn't really feel like we're really building to the climax, you know, the end game of the entire story. It doesn't feel like it has that much oomph behind it as of yet. And hopefully that comes in. Hopefully we feel that more as we go through the season. But I don't think it's quite there yet. So again, maybe those early reviews saying that, hey, there's this kind of divide where the back half feels like the big climax you've been wanting, and the first half just kind of feels like business as usual. And business as usual, when you're 5 seasons in, it feels a little bit mundane, I guess. It feels a little bit like it is just business as usual. It doesn't feel exciting anymore. And I think part of that may also be that the satire elements, like, almost like are just have no effect anymore, because there's so, like, some of the things in this episode are so close to what just people have said in the real world or done in the real world in the last couple of years that it just isn't funny. Like, I'm not amused that Homelander thinks he's going to become a god. I'm just like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Like, you know, it tracks. I get it, but it wasn't like I was, oh, I'm excited by this, you know, next step. I did think it was funny, yet another father figure telling him he's pathetic and that he's a disappointment, because Soldier Boy says that, and even has a little flashback at one point where he remembers Edgar saying it. He remembers the scientist Vought dude who told it to him back in like season 1 or 2. Like, we get all of these like little snippets, and it's like him, and he's having a bath in milk, but he has this vision where he's told he's going to become immortal if he gets the V1, and he's going to be a god, and he's going to be this, and blah 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 blah. Soldier Boy had earlier said, you know, I'm going to outlive you, you're going to grow old, you're going to be in a wheelchair, you're going to, you know, be crapping into a bag or whatever, and I'm still going to be fine. And that got under his skin as well, but he seems to be hell-bent on finding any V1 that still exists, which seemingly every sample was destroyed, but they believe there's this MacGuffin out there that they can go find. So it's about trying to get to it before Homelander does. Now, Butcher just wants to go after him immediately before he can get it. But, you know, Huey makes a reasonable argument as to why they can't do that and why it wouldn't work. So he backs down, right? He still listens to some level of reason if he agrees with the reason when it's given. Obviously, if he doesn't, he'll just do what he wants, because that's who he is now. So that's, you know, that's that stuff. I don't really have a whole lot to say about the actual vision itself. It was just kind of like, yeah, of course. Of course it is. I do also wonder, I think there's a combination of factors here. I think the first half of the season feels like it is just kind of like relatively mundane compared to what The Boys has been. And I don't mean in terms of shock value. That's not what I mean. I think people might misunderstand me and think I want it to be more shocking. I don't. This is not about being shocking. This is more about just the plot's being a bit more intricate and being a bit more complex and a bit more, just something beyond just we have to go get MacGuffin. And maybe in the past that's been fine as long as like the character stuff along with it's been good, but the character stuff has felt a little bit undercooked, and that's where it feels like we're just kind of repeating old ground. So because of that, and then because there's also been this bigger gap between seasons, we had Gen V in between, but bigger gap between seasons has maybe diminished a little bit of the impact because the world's getting crazier in its absence. Like all these things kind of maybe are adding up a little bit to make these first few episodes feel a little less exciting than what they otherwise could be. Anyway, elsewhere, I mean, has a whole scene with Edgar when they're talking to him, and they're in his bunker that we saw in Gen V. It's the same place. That stuff was okay. It was Edgar basically saying he's the company man, and that the capitalist machine will keep on going even after Homelander and Co have been defeated, and he'll be there to pick up the pieces. And makes it clear that he's going to kill him at the end of the day. Which, sure, yeah, maybe we'll see that happen. But I mean, the Deep having a Cybertruck makes all the sense in the world. Listening to Limp Bizkit. The Dog the Bounty Hunter dude is here from Gen V. He's sniffing out the direction to go in. Translucent's kid being caught when he was trying to like sneak around him because he's wearing too much crappy deodorant. That's an okay little joke. Yeah, I just don't feel that strongly about a lot of stuff in this episode. Even though there's a couple of good jokes and there's the general direction makes sense. But there's nothing really that exciting about it, and it just kind of feels like looking for Thing, and bad guy also looking for Thing. We're both looking for Thing. No one's found Thing yet, which is a little bit worrying that going into the next episode, they're still going to likely be looking for Thing. Because we end on like the sad part of like Ryan lying there and being all bloody and whatnot, but that won't necessarily change the direction of where we're going with all the other characters next episode in a big grand way. So I don't know how to feel about that necessarily. I should mention as well, I brought up the joke from the scene, but yeah, Soldier Boy ends up having sex with Firecracker, and it's amusing them both realizing they're both doing it to make Homelander jealous, but realizing that that isn't going to work because he doesn't care about either of us in that way. Was a little bit amusing. I mean, that's about it. But I don't know. Like I wish I was just a little bit more feeling it so far, and I'm hopeful that it will get there. I'm hopeful that we will get to that point where everything's going to sort of start clicking into place because they're moving into the end game. But part of me does wonder if instead of season 4 and 5 both existing with 8 episodes each, if they just done one season 4 that's maybe 10 episodes instead, just giving them a couple of extra that they maybe felt that they needed, because they didn't need a whole extra, they didn't need 16 total. I'll say that right now. It doesn't feel that they need 16 to do the story, because they're looking for stuff just feels a little bit repetitive at this point, and there's probably more interesting things we could be doing with some of the characters going into the end game here, because there's characters here that I don't even have much to say on for this episode. Sister Sage is around. She shoots Homelander a couple of glances, and Soldier Boy, actually, I should probably mention that we kind of just gloss over like him setting up. He's just already up and around, and he's a part of the Seven. And obviously, Homelander comes crawling to try and like beg Soldier Boy to not be mad at him, that he didn't intentionally put him in harm's way. Soldier Boy doesn't believe him, and that's what leads to the whole discovery of the V1 stuff. But there is a fun little moment of like Homelander realizing, oh, I'm not immune because I'm his son. I'm still going to be doomed like everyone else. And Soldier Boy being like, oh, I'm the one who's actually immortal. I'm the one who'll actually still be here once you're done. And of course, the other thing that's worth mentioning is that only 5 soups ever successfully were created with V1, because it was basically killing like most of the subjects. Like most of the people who got injected with it just died. Him and Soldier Boy and Stormfront are 2 of the 5 that actually lived through it and became soups. And there's a reason why they switched to a new V. Like they did. So And just a couple other quick things. Edgar, of course, is taken back to Homelander. The Deep, wanting to take credit, uses the smoke grenade to get Black Noir away from the Cybertruck, which is a vaguely amusing moment. Also, after we think Huey might have been, I mean, I never really believed it, but like, you know, the moment where Starlight thinks it's happened, she does just snap. I forget her name. The girl with the powers who can splat people. She snaps her neck, so she's dead. So we're kind of clearing the board of some of the minor characters, I guess. You know, she's gone. Love Sausage is gone. We're kind of wiping some of the C-listers off the table, I guess, so they're out of the way for the back half of the season. Yeah, but feeling a little bit lukewarm right now. It's, you know, I think the other problem as well, I think, is because I am feeling lukewarm, the runtime feels a little bit long as well. Like, I think if you're really into every scene, the 60 minutes is nothing. But when you're feeling a little bit lukewarm, like, you feel every minute of that 60, and you feel like, oh, I wish this was a 40-minute show instead of a 60-minute show. But they use the whole 60 minutes, so we'll see. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this week's episode of The Boys. Not particularly, over the moon with it, but hey, it is what it is. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff helps out a bunch if you do. And of course, you can support everything over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonuses for your trouble. But that is me, so thank you very much for joining. I do appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?